Hello, EKN Nation. Welcome to a new edition of the EKN Debrief, episode number 167, Tuesday, June the 16th, 2026. Rob Howden here alongside David Cole to cap off our trackside coverage of the 2026 Superkarts USA Pro Tour Spring Nationals. The race report show, the debrief of the event that happened at the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati in Batavia, Ohio over this past weekend. Fantastic racing. My first time to get to this race, the racetrack. Really enjoyed the first trip there. Lots to talk about because there's, of course, a ton of racing going on. The weather was part of it. There's so many storylines to talk about. We'll dive into that momentarily here. This week's show presented by Parolin USA. Parolin USA is North America's source for Parolin products. The brand is rich in history and success dating back to the early 1990s throughout Europe. Today, Parolin is among the winningest brands in the USA and around the world. Carters can head to the ParolinUSA.com website, where the entire chassis line and parts are available to you, with shipping available across North America within 48 hours. Get on the chassis that's winning. Drive a Parolin. All right, David Cole, let's bring you in here. You and I traveled back from Cincinnati yesterday, a pretty easy travel day, which is good. We started it off with a Waffle House breakfast, so all told, a good day.
It was unique travel for me. I got to be on the same plane for two flights, so that was interesting. And I actually got to see them kick somebody off for the first time because we were overweight.
Oh, I thought you meant somebody got gnarly.
No. That would have been more exciting, but it was like, we'll take volunteers who want to go on another flight. And I was like, no. And this person stood up and got off. I was shocked. And first time I've seen them, we were too heavy down below, so they had to move bags and take people off the train. So quite interesting in that. But other than that, I think, aside from the Sunday rain, I think everything went well. Yeah,
agreed. Again, the Spring Nationals back again at the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati. Just to throw the date on there, June the 12th to the 14th was the official date this past weekend. Rounds number 3 and 4 of the 6-round championship program. Round 2 for the drivers in the Pro Show in the Pro Shifter Car category. The Spring Nationals always kind of holds a bit of a cool position within the Superkarts USA Pro Tour in the SCUSA history. That's where it all started. The Winter Nationals actually weren't the very first round. The very first ever Pro Tour race was back in 2010 out at Sonoma Raceway. So that means the 17th season, 17th running of the Spring Nationals, which is very cool, closing in on that magic 20 mark. David, weather all told, the week itself, talking to guys that were there Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We rolled in Thursday afternoon. Hot, humid, almost stifling at one point. I remember a lot of guys were kind of really struggling through the Thursday, Friday. It was bad. Thankfully, it cooled off a little bit on Saturday. And, of course, we did get that rain coming in a bit on Sunday.
Yeah, Thursday was probably the worst of the 4 days of on-track action. Obviously, they had Tuesdays and Wednesdays setting up. Obviously, they had the Road Tax RMC America's Trophy finale the weekend before, where it was humid as well during that weekend. But yes, for this weekend, Thursday was the worst. Friday was there in terms of the humidity. Luckily, Saturday was kind of a buildup because during the day we had the rain overnight, and so the temperature didn't increase slowly, and so that those morning sessions were a bit cooler, which was nicer for everybody. And then once the main events that's when the sun came out. That's when the humidity rose even more. And then of course, as we talked about, the threat of rain on Sunday all day came just as lunch break broke, just enough to make the track wet for interesting scenarios, and we'll get into that later. We will. And then boom, right at the end, SCUSA's trying to get everything done, get it in before the really heavy stuff came through. Unfortunately, we came up one race short of that.
Yeah, they were looking at that 4 o'clock time. Right? We were watching. Xander and I were kind of watching this one front come through, and it wasn't like a huge, massive storm that was coming. It literally was just a straight front that came through and arrived, as we know, right before the Pro X30 race.
It looked like it was going to be. The radar showed a little bit of red there in terms of maybe possible thunderstorms, but luckily that kind of dissipated.
Yeah.
And it was just heavy rain. So that was the positive in terms of the actual precipitation we got. Was it came down hard, but there was no lightning, no thunder, and then it went away. So that was a positive. So teams did actually get to clean up. Yet everything was wet, but got to try and clean up as best as possible to get on the road.
Let's have a look now, as we did in the Outlap preview show as well. By the numbers, they ended up with 214 entries, a significant drop from the Winter Nationals back in March, down by 45 entries. Interestingly, Micro Swift actually up 2, Mini Swift up 2, KA100 Junior up 6, but other categories with drops. A couple drops in the X30 Junior category, a significant drop in KA100 Master, 18 out at Tucson, only 7 making the call at MCC. 12 driver drop in KA100 Senior, normally the biggest category that we see every weekend. A huge drop in Pro X30 as well. Maybe it was kind of a weird deal that we had 42 out at Tucson. A lot of Californians, I think, coming out for that one. David, only 25 drivers in Pro X30, and also a 12-driver drop in Pro Shifter, which I found very interesting because it seems like SCUSA is kind of that place where all the shifter drivers are kind of flocking to. After an awesome field of 46 in Tucson, they end up with 34. Still a full field. 34 is amazing for Pro Shifter, but it's interesting how we had a couple ups and a bunch of downs.
Well, 25% of the drop was in KA Master with 11, and then you talk about KA Senior dropping 12. There's another 25% right there, and so on and so forth. So again, it was just these big chunks in a couple of the categories. As you said, Pro Shifter down 12 as well too. So that's the real reason for the drop. So essentially, it was a pretty even across the board. As you said, we had a couple categories that went up in numbers, which was a positive. But yeah, it's a geographical kind of thing. It's a time of the year. We were racing in March. Now it's June. We were on the West Coast. Now this is in Midwest. Lots of different things, different variables that add to it. But yeah, the Pro Shifter, Rob, I got to be honest, and I will talk a little bit about this more, but I think it's the racetrack. I think MCC is one of the more difficult racetracks we go to. Yeah. Tucson, a little bit unknown. So that's another variable to kind of factor in where, hey, I've never been to Tucson before, I probably shouldn't go. Or I've never been to Tucson before, let's go kind of scenario. Where MCC, this is the third year that we've been there for the Spring Nationals. So people have been there, they know it. So you get a little more consistency in terms of that. But then you have the people that maybe don't like going there. So all different variables, but number wise, again, still above 200 mark. The Spring Nationals has been above 200 since 2020 when we have that summer festival program at Newcastle during the COVID season. So yeah, only 2018 and 2019 have we seen over since 2016 seen the Spring Nationals below 200.
Garza, I think we'll do a little deep dive into those Pro Shifter numbers, pull out the results from both of those events, have a look at those down the line to kind of see which drivers maybe did not make the trek. But other than that, 214 entries, as David had said, we're seeing a lot of kind of a dip for all the series right now here as we get into the summer season. Maybe some guys are going to the beach and going to the lake, whatever it may be, some vacations. That's a possibility as well. Lots of racing, as we know, always leading towards pushing the numbers either up or down, depending on the event, depending on the actual run of races, as David mentioned, throughout the middle of the summer. Off to our first break. We get back. We're going to dive into the paddock pass, and then from there, we'll go into class-by-class coverage. There's a new hot-button name in American safety equipment, Stilo USA. Every product with Stilo is focused on safety, comfort, and function. Stilo USA is happy to provide you with the proper safety apparel to keep you protected on the track, and their karting lineup is second to none. New to the product lineup is the Stilo Carbon CMR karting helmet. Designed to revolutionize your karting experience, this carbon fiber crafted helmet is among the lightest on the market, without compromising on safety. The Stilo ST5 KRT karting helmet is manufactured using a lightweight and extremely strong composite material. The KRT provides an excellent fit and comfort level due to its dual density interior foam lining, and it's equipped with a symmetrical visor that offers excellent vision and an effortless central visor locking system. The Stilo ST5 CMR standard was developed jointly by the FIA Institute and Snell Memorial Foundation to ensure safer and lighter weight helmets for younger karters. Drivers rave about the superior comfort levels, lightweight construction, and the unparalleled field of vision that is perfect for the youth helmet line. Stilo didn't stop with their helmets either. The newly developed Carbon Curva rib protector is unlike any other on the market, with a form-fitting solution to offer superior protection. The Carbon Curva 8870 version is FIA homologated and includes a chest protector. Head to stilohelmets.com to review these products and many more to keep you safe on the track. Stilo, any competition, one helmet. Check out any major national karting event, and what's the common thread? Speed Concepts Racing. Up front, in every class, every weekend. The Speed family has been at the forefront of American karting for over 25 years, and Speed Concepts Racing is the sole dedication of Father Mike Speed and his multi-time championship-winning son Alex Speed. This program is all about passion for the sport and a dedication to winning. They know how to get it done. If you're a senior driver ready to put yourself amongst the best in the country, Speed Concepts Racing is the program for you. We can win the big races. You just need to be in the seat. The Speeds program has delivered time over time in the junior classes as well, helping to elevate a long list of young drivers from mid-pack to potential race winners. Speed Concepts Racing has the perfect equation of coaching, driver development, and technical knowledge to elevate your program. Arrive and drive opportunities are available for the remainder of the 2023 season, and we're locking in seats for 2024 as well. If you're ready to take your career to the next level, contact Speed Concepts Racing through email at speedconceptsracing@gmail.com. Established in 1999, PSL Karting is a powerhouse within the North American karting industry and around the world. PSL Karting is your complete source for all Bureau Art products as the North American importer, providing this top quality product through both their expansive dealer network and through the pslkarting.com online store. Whatever you need is available 24/7 online, including safety gear, parts, components, and full karting packages. PSL Karting is the importer for the Bureau Art, Charles Leclerc, Kubica, and Barrichello brands of karts, all in stock and ready to hit the track. Grab your winning chassis for any category by visiting pslkarting.com to find your nearest dealer. PSL Karting is always looking for interest in new dealers and teams to help create new business relationships. Drivers looking to take their talent to the next level can join the Bureau Art North America race team, competing at all major USA and Canada events this season. When you're ready to win, go with PSL Karting. Back at it, episode number 167 of the EKN Debrief, wrapping up our Superkarts USA Pro Tour Spring Nationals trackside coverage. Rob Howden here alongside David Cole. The show today brought to you by Parolin USA. The Paddock Pass, however, presented by Velocity Racing. What brand is known around the world for its innovation and success? It is Sodikart. Velocity Racing is the USA distribution and official race team for the Sodi brand. The French manufacturer Sodikart is a leader within the karting industry, offering a wide range of products and services. Visit velocityracing.com to learn more about the Sodikart chassis or call 407-270-3042 to become part of the Velocity Racing Network today. Sodikart, the world leader in the karting industry. All right, David, let's touch on the Paddock Pass here. A number of notes that you had through the Paddock Insider, more stuff we talked about throughout the weekend. You mentioned it already, kind of in the intro. Third straight year that the SCUSA Pro Tour was at the club, the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati.
Yeah, it's essentially found a new home, very similar to the Summer Nationals at Newcastle. The Spring Nationals has found a home with MCC. The Superkarts USA went there 3 years ago. There were some issues regarding safety and the way the track was laid out. The MCC stepped up, made those revisions, and Superkarts showed their support with that. So if it's a good working relationship. It's funny talking with Tom Kutcher that if there were more track managers or track owners like Sean Bailiff or Mike Adams, karting would be massive right now and growing in unbelievable numbers because of the work and dedication that the Bailiff family does at MCC and other racetracks around the country as well to do that.
Yeah, listen, it's our sport is based on the foundation of the industry, whether it's the shops and the teams and the people that are the ones that are on the front line, making sure everybody can go racing. But without racetracks, we're not going anywhere. I don't care what we're doing. We'd all be racing on parking lots, I guess, still, like they did at the Rose Bowl back in 1957.
Well,
so
and that's a funny thing, Rob, not to go really deep into this, but yeah, back in the day, it didn't cost a lot of money to pave a little half-mile sprint track that was shaped like an L, or it didn't take up a lot of land, and paddock was basically a 10 by 10 spot in the grass that you got. You didn't have these massive haulers and RVs and all this other stuff. So much like the sport on the racetrack has evolved, the industry has evolved in that too. And there's a lot of things that have to go into welcoming events like as massive as this, because we never really had numbers like this before. It was the illusion of the past karting.
We've talked about
that. Oh my God, karting was so massive and big. No, really, the numbers weren't even close to what we're at right now. So it was just probably a little bit more competitive, or a little bit different in terms of less categories in this and that. So it's the being a track owner is not easy, man.
Well, the other part of it is you have to have track owners that are passionate about the competition side of the sport.
Right.
Because as we know, we've talked about it, most tracks, if they have a quality and maybe a thriving rental program, they lose money when they shut down to bring a race in. Right. That's something we always have to remember. And it's if as long as the ownership loves kart racing, you're okay. If they say, you know what, we just want to make money and we're going to run rental karts, it's the beginning of the end of competition at that racetrack.
That's true.
All right, David, let's go to the next one. Actually, this was a really interesting one, and it felt a little weird, to be honest. But Ryan Norberg, for the first time since 2015, on the sidelines, focusing on his business, running the team, working with GFC. Norberg is obviously transitioning into the that his team ownership and that side of the industry. But it's wild for the first time that he is not on the racetrack and not racing at the SKUSA Pro Tour race.
Yeah, he did not make his Pro Tour debut until SpringNationals in 2016. That was before we had the Winter Nationals, and won in his first race in X30 Senior at the Phoenix Kart Racing Association out in Glendale, Arizona. And yeah, from that time to today, had put in a stellar career, a legacy, if you will, over that time period. And yeah, to see him, he mentioned it on social a couple of days before the weekend that he wasn't racing. We didn't even cover it in the outlap, not even thinking about it again. It's just been just one of those, we were rushing kind of our outlap, so we really didn't have a time to really look at that.
Exactly, yeah.
And it's something I noticed, I mentioned in our recent driver rankings presented by CeeLo USA, is the fact that he is out of the top 10 of the driver rankings for the first time since August of 2015. It was back then he was only doing USPKS. He actually raced for Checkered Motorsports back in the day, racing the X30 category at USPKS. And then 2016, he made that move. He was racing under the Orlando Kart Center umbrella, and Gary Willis was helping him ranch. He had support from Allison Racing Engines, and he went out to Phoenix in this little trailer and beat everybody that was there. Almost won on Sunday until get contact between him and I believe it was Andre Nicastro or somebody else. It might have been somebody else. I don't know that for sure. But took him out of the main event. And so it's been an amazing run for Norberg. Obviously, he's going to dip back into the driver's seat. He's going to be doing the Florida Karting Championships, and don't be surprised to see him at the Summer Nats, maybe back in the seat again, or for sure Vegas. You just never quite know.
Yep.
Because that competitive fire is still there. Like talking to him at the racetrack, he's like, it's like that itch. It's like, oh man, I really should be out there. But as you said, it's a transition, and that's something we're going to be covering. We're working on an article with Ryan about this, the past, the present, and the future for Ryan Norberg.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And again, talk about new things that are happening. Travis Pettit, who we've seen in the Rawlson Performance Group colors to start the season, recently making a change and moving over to the branded Jarsa Crack Racing. So the first time that Travis was with BJR on the SKUSA Pro Tour event. So that was something new for the weekend.
Yeah, made his debut at the Stars event with BJR, won in the KA senior category there. And it's kind of like a spark under the BJR tent. It's kind of I will talk a little bit more about it in the race report, but it's been a unique addition in terms of it wasn't expected. We were thinking Pettit was going to be an RPG all season long.
No doubt.
Things change. Obviously, Pettit's looking at moving to the car side of things, and so this works out a little bit better for him because RPG doesn't go to all the events; they go to a lot of the major ones, but a lot of the smaller ones. And I think that's something that Pettit wanted to do, was continue to keep racing here on the East Coast at other events. BGR was kind of the good fit, and BGR has welcomed him. On the LN kart, BBS Power, in both the X30 and KA.
Yeah, I think you talk to Brandon, and they know how strong their senior program is, and this has really lit a fire under their junior program as well. Marco Samet stepping things up. You're going to hear us talk a lot about Marco here this weekend as well, because most definitely rising to the occasion with a new teammate, and that's interesting for Jarts to Crack Racing with the opportunity to potentially level things up and really fire up that junior program, which is cool. Great to see.
Yeah, and again, just the silly season never ends. We've seen a couple other drivers move around, and that's just kind of the part of it. It's finding that connection or that atmosphere that you kind of better fit in. Again, a lot of these teams are very similar and very, perform very similar, but they all have their own unique characteristics and
culture, right? A different culture under the tent, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right, off to our next break. When we come back, it's time to dive into the race report. We'll go Pro Shifter and Pro X30 after this break. All over the karting world, everyone knows OTK is the gold standard for quality and performance. In the United States, OTK USA is the source for all things OTK. 8 brands under the OTK USA banner are winning races and championships across the country in national programs like the Rock Cup USA Florida Winter Tour, the Challenge of the Americas, the SCUSA Pro Tour Winter Series, the United States Pro Kart Series, and even more programs throughout the country. And OTK products are also front and center on the podium of club and regional races from coast to coast. Tony Kart, Cosmic, Esprit, EOS, and Red Speed have been joined by the Gallard, LN Racing Kart, and CS55 brands. To learn more about a specific product line or to find the OTK USA dealer near you, visit otkusa.com. Specific chassis territories are still available, so kart shops interested in adding a winning component to their product lineups can contact OTK USA directly. OTK, the gold standard of karting. Wins at the sport's biggest races, as well as championships across all levels of karting, pack the resume for Nitro Kart. The Nitro Kart brand has made its statement as the best, fastest, and most reliable cadet chassis on the North American karting market. If you want to win in cadet, both in 2-cycle and 4-cycle competition, get a Nitro Kart and join the team. Team Nitro Kart will be at all major events, trackside with Ryan Perry Motorsport, the official race team. Owner Ryan Perry and his RPM operation carries the full selection of Nitro Kart chassis and parts, while also providing the same driver development focus as Nitro Kart owner Nick Tucker. You can also join the Team Nitro Kart race team at all major 4-cycle races this season. Led by longtime Nitro Kart tuner Cody Johnson, Team Nitro Kart will be at all the major Cup Karts North America events with arrive and drive opportunities available for all ages. Nitro Motorsports is a true karts-to-karts driver development program that is already gaining success after launching in 2022. Victories and championships in the Trans Am Series has highlighted the team's start, along with the success in the new GR Cup by Toyota. Current and former karters can take advantage of this unique ladder system with Nitro Kart and Nitro Motorsports. Visit Nitro Kart online and find them on social media. Nitro Kart, race one or chase one. Winning takes top quality equipment, flawless preparation, experienced coaching, and passion. And at Team GFC, we live our passion. Developed by American karting champion Gary Carlton, the GFC chassis has become one of the newest brands to reach the top of the podium in North America. GFC has garnered victories and championships at all levels of the sport since its debut at the end of 2018. Shifter car drivers are at the front of the field in the GT14 frame, with the SS31 a consistent contender in tag and 100cc competition. Team GFC has Arrive and Drive packages available for all categories, including the mini and micro classes utilizing the GFC RR5 cadet chassis. These young pilots have the opportunity to be part of the Team GFC Young Driver Development Program. Learn from one of the best American karters with 28 years racing at the highest levels of the sport, offering personalized training on and off the track. Follow GFC Karting on Facebook and Instagram, or click over to gfckarting.com to learn more about joining Team GFC. GFC, live your passion. Back at it with the EKN Debrief, episode 167, breaking down the Superkarts USA SpringNationals, the second event on this year's Superkarts USA Pro Tour. Into the race report, presented by AIM Sports. From its early days, AIM Sports has tailored its innovations to provide precise insights, allowing racers to fine-tune their strategies and push their limits. Fast forward to today, and they are excited to celebrate over 30 years of Micron by introducing the latest evolution in karting data loggers, the Micron 6. Designed with cutting-edge features, including 25 hertz of GPS with mil-spec precision, a 6-axis inertial platform, shift lights and alarms, temperature inputs, and many more features. It's perfect for the karting enthusiasts looking to enhance their game on the track. Join the AIM Sports community today and equip yourself with the Micron 6 to take your karting experience to the next level. Visit aimsports.com to learn more. AIM Sports, 30 years of Micron. All right, David, let's set the stage here a little bit. We're going to do kind of a little bit of an evolution in how we present the race report, the class-by-class segments here. We're not going to dive into the actual on-track action as much as we have in the past, where we kind of really do the detail. You've already kind of done that for the most part in the race reports. If people want to go back and watch video, that's available nowadays through Kart Chase or whatever it may be. You and I are going to kind of maybe even lean more into the debrief name, right? Talk more about the event itself, some of the stuff that stood out for us from class to class. I like that. So it'll be a little easier run through all of the results. So sound good for you?
Wait, you mean I don't have to mispronounce names, or do I still do that?
I never realized how big of a thing that would be for you. Right? The level of this podcast is going up another step as you're not butchering names left and right.
I still will, because if they do well, or there's a big story about them, then yes, true, I probably still will.
All right. Well, so as we do, I'll give the headline. David can help fill things in, and we'll talk about essentially what our takeaways are from the races that we saw on the weekend. Pro Shifter, presented by PSL Karting. Here's the headline. Morgado rises in the rain to claim second straight.
Yeah, I think, Rob, when the weekend started, we weren't really putting our money on Morgado to be the factor come Sunday, as early on it looked like it was the GFC guys that were stepping up and picking, showing the way, and something I talked about in the outlap. I said, don't be surprised if you see Kyle Wick or some of the other GFC guys up front. And what did we see? We saw Kyle Wick setting fast time in the even qualifying group. Morgado did pick up the pace and was the quickest driver overall in the odd group. But when the Super Pole happened, it was Kyle Wick putting down a 51.917 to earn that pole position for the two heat races. And Wick was right there in the hunt for the opening heat race. Well, Kremers actually drove away with it. A great hole shot. Wick was there for second, but an engine issue for him and an engine issue for Jay Irwin, both in the opening heat races, Rob. And I think that's a little bit of the development of this R3 engine package. I know you and Xander talked about it on the broadcast.
Yeah, indeed. The new power plant, the R3 evolution for TM. So obviously, again, we're hearing more. It's more in terms of the gearbox. So I'm going to want to dive into it and make some sense of emails out and learn a little bit more. But yeah, a couple issues for Wick. It had nothing to do with that. I talked to his father. It was literally a spark plug failure.
Right. Yeah.
Which the spark plug
again happens. Yeah.
Crazy.
It happens.
Yeah. So Kremers, like you said, walks away to the win. Morgado ends up at second, Musgrave third. And I think the big thing was Kyle Wick came back, David, later that day and showed the pace he had. He was dominant in that second heat race.
Yeah, dominant in the second heat race, winning over Morgado and Gulick. But the big story coming away from heat 2 was the contact between Irwin and Kremers. Kremers got shuffled back into 4th. Irwin was right there in 5th and made this bold move into turn 2, essentially missing the apex completely and just destroying Kremers' front end, taking them out of the race. And a very interesting scenario there. Again, former teammates, both who raced under the PSL 10. Irwin it was almost a drastic move because he had that DNF in the opening heat with the engine issued. And so very uncharacteristic for him.
Yeah, in the pre-final, Morgado starting on pole, Musgrave P2, Formal and Valiente, Massimo Valiente with Danny on row 2. Wick was still on row number 3 because and I want to think, I think Wick was 6th. I think Kremers was 7th because those wins obviously helping them out in the points for the pre-final grid.
And again, issues for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Morgado didn't have an issue. Musgrave kind of escaped it. Formal, who didn't even qualify for Superpole. He was outside the top 12.
Yep.
Stayed out of trouble, so started the pre-final in 3rd. Valiente, same thing. Out of the Fast 5, I might have been in the top 12, but stayed out of trouble. Conquer as well, stayed out of trouble. So there was a lot of trouble or a lot of poor results in one of the 2 heat races for a lot of drivers.
Indeed. Kremers comes away with the pre-final win. Formal, Musgrave, Gulick, a penalty from Morgado from P2 dropped him down. Kyle with contact.
Well, I mean, yeah, let's talk about that because I thought it was a penalty. You said at lunchtime, because this was, I believe, before lunch, and you were like, no, more. It was Wick's fault, and so the officials were on my side.
What happened? Where did that happen again? So
This was in the far end of the racetrack where the quick left right.
Oh yes, yeah, 13, 14.
And essentially Morgado, rather than running wide, knowing that Wick wasn't going to give up the inside, just drove right towards the apex, pushed Wick off into the grass. Wick drove over the top of Morgado's front end and spun around. So
yeah, it was interesting because Morgado, in the shifter car category, when you have that move done to the inside of what is like we were calling 13, the left-hander at the end of the long left-hand turn 12 sweeper, Morgado was kind of under the inside. Wick didn't want to give it up on the outside. But once they got around the corner and were kind of setting up for the right-hand turn number 14, it's not like Wick, they weren't wheel to wheel. They weren't side by side. It was left front to right rear contact. Wick's left front to Morgado's right rear.
Yeah. See, I didn't see. I saw the complete opposite. I saw them side by side.
Oh, no.
I saw Morgado, rather than setting up for the corner, went right towards the grass for the apex.
Yeah, for sure. Trying to slam the door for sure.
Right. And Wick was, like I said, Wick held the outside because it would set him up for the inside. And very similar to what we saw in X30. We saw a lot of that as well, too, where guys would hold the outside and then be there for the inside. Yep. So it was kind of a failed pass attempt because they didn't quite – I don't know. But
listen,
I agree with the call.
I've got the camera that we're watching. You saw where you were standing. I'm sure that Wick and his in-car camera are going to see, his onboard GoPro are going to show something different. And then all the cameras that race control can look at, they make the call. And it's a 5-position penalty for Morgado, dropping him down to 7.
Right.
Yeah.
And I agree with it. Yeah.
All right. Well,
you were wrong. I just wanted to point out you were wrong.
I still don't think that. I'd like to see more looks. Yes. Anyways, the bottom line is with all this chaos, mm-hmm. Danny Formal finds himself on the pole.
Yeah.
for a guy that didn't make it, into Super Pole, and finds himself on the pole
and he did say that. He said it was his fault in qualifying. They just didn't quite have it. Yep. So again, this one final program that they have laid out, it awards no mistakes, right? And that's what Formal got. He got to start on the front row.
Okay, so let's set the stage now here. We don't want to go too much into this into the whole deal. Formal, Kremers in the front row, Musgrave, Morgado, row 2, Gulick and Conquer, row 3. The rain comes in, and it rains essentially through lunch. So it started to happen because we finished the pre-finals. The first race after lunch is the pro shifter main event. So it rains and it's wet. Everybody knows it's wet. But it looks like it potentially, like the rain had stopped, I think, but by the start of the rain, it stopped.
So
right?
It rained briefly and then stopped. And then so it kind of gave everybody the question. It was like, oh, what's going to happen?
Track
Because
was
it was
wet
a
to start for sure.
shorter lunch break. And then it rained a little bit more just prior to everybody on grid. So it was kind of a mad dash, everybody changing over to rain tires. We posted the video up on socials, so make sure you check it out. There were guys, again, that saw, hey, it's only a brief bit of rain. This track might dry out.
Yep.
And so that was kind of the story. And there were 5 drivers, I think, that did stay out on dry tires. One of them being AJ Myers, the other Charlie Steins, who the number 9 plate. They took a gamble. Unfortunately for them, the track didn't dry out as quickly as they had hoped. But also, Rob, something we'll do in our takeaway section, they black flagged the lappers.
Yeah.
And so they were taken off the racetrack before the track got dry, because by the time I think we got through the halfway point of the what now was 20 minutes race, the track had a dry line formed all the way around it.
Yeah, we'll get to that in the takeaways for sure. In the end, or at the start, let's throw it that again. We don't need to be diving too much deep into this.
No.
Mario Kremers able to get to the lead, pulling away, has the lead. But Morgado was coming at the end of it, David. No doubt about that. And let's talk about that. Essentially, just to wrap it up for that.
Kremers was great when the track was wet.
Yeah.
Got away from everybody, avoided the lap traffic as best as he could. And then once the dry line formed, that's when Morgado's machine just came alive and just started fast lap after fast lap after fast lap. And it was really all the Superkarts that were quick, moving their way forward as the track was drying. And the track became dry, and then the tires were essentially all the rear tires that came off the racetrack. They were slicks by the time they came in, and so Kremers, I thought personally he was saving tires, and then when Morgado got there, he was going to kind of step it up, but he didn't. He just didn't quite have the pace, and Morgado was just so much better. And within I think he passed him on before the white flag. Took over the lead. Morgado pulled out to a 2-second margin of victory. So indeed. The pace was just phenomenal.
Heartbreak again for Kremers trying to get that win. It's been a while since he's been able to win. Morgado wins his second straight pro shifter main event. Got a good point lead right now. Kremers ends up second. Danny Formal just able to hold back the battle and the challenges of the last laps of Lachlan Tomlinson, the young 14-year-old Aussie. Put a ton of pressure on him on the Sodi kart. Just wasn't quite enough. Gave it a shot in turn number 11 on the final lap, but bogged it down in the corner a little bit. Couldn't get out of the corner. And Formal able to come away with a third place. Finished Tomlinson fourth. Vincenzo Saracino, a fantastic. I think he ended up with the fast lap of the race, if I'm not mistaken, as well.
No, that was Musgrave.
Okay, all right. There you go. Kate, I heard somebody mention that. Anyways, comes home P5. Dominic Karai, Gavin Bailiff, Jay Irwin, Gage Korn, and Jacob Gulick rounding out the top 10.
Yeah, and Gulick actually got shuffled out of what could have been the top 5.
Yeah.
He and Musgrave got together. Musgrave was actually a meatball flag for the rear bumper getting lodged in between the frame and the rear tire. He ignored that, and that resulted in a disqualification for ignoring the meatball flag.
Not a safety issue. Should never been a meatball flag.
I agree with you on that. But McConker, that would have moved Conker up into the top 5 as well. But disqualification for the rear width, the rear tire inside the rear bumper was a disqualification.
Yeah, I spoke with them. The hub slid in. So tough. Again, another thing I hate with that. I hate those rules.
Rules are rules, Rob.
I know. I've never liked that one with the wheels inside. I get it. All right, let's get into our takeaways now. We already talked. Obviously, a big win for Morgado, his second straight to start the season. Let's go with some takeaways, David. Motorsports Country Club, a new tradition, kind of a cool little deal that they put together this year.
Yes, they're going to do the MCC jackets. The very similar to what you see at a golf tournament that I will not mention in terms, so that way we are not copyrighted or anything like that. But yes, very similar to a golf tournament, a green jacket for the Pro Shifter winner. So we have 2 drivers who have won over the last 3 years at MCC, Morgado and Josh Conker. And Morgado picked up his second green jacket with the win on the weekend. So a very cool, unique little and plus, I think he got $1,000 as well too. From I don't know if it was just from the racetrack or how that came
That's from
about.
Sean.
But
It's from the track. It's from the track.
Well, there you go. I guess camping fees were great. So,
yeah, listen, it's the bailiffs just trying to level things up a little bit, right?
That's one thing I was disappointed with, and I think this was more on SCUSA than it is the actual racetrack. But last year we had a great opening ceremonies for Pro Shifter. Obviously, this one would have been a little bit chaotic with the rain. But I think in terms of that's what we have the schedule laid out this way for. We need to go back to having a show for the Pro Shifter getting on the racetrack and post race, allowing them to, do all our interviews, maybe come back with having a trackside podium right after the race as well too, Rob.
Love that. I would love to have seen them push the carts out onto the front straightaway, drop them down there. Kart Chaser can do some interviews on pit lane there, full driver introduction while they're on the front straightaway. I would love to see that again. I would also love to see the pro categories do their podiums right afterwards.
Yeah. I mean, think about it. We have the podium that can be held by two people. Put the carts on the front stretch, 2, 1, 3 banner. The podium backdrop behind them.
Love it.
You put the trophies out there just for the fun of it and give it to them later. But then boom, in the heat of the moment, like we do at the Supernauts, it's so much thrilling, and then it gives the mini and micro guys looking at that like, man, I want to do that one day.
That's it. Yeah. Listen, you go all the way back to 1999, the first year of the SCUSA Pro Moto Tour. That's what we did. It was right out of the cart, right to the podium, man. The emotion is there. The raw emotion is there. I love it.
We're really going on different tangents here. Sorry.
All right, let's get back. Whew. All right. A takeaway, David. You've got down here bad luck for Kyle Wick. Just a rough weekend.
Yeah, like I said, going into the weekend, I thought he was going to be like, I could have put money down on him as kind of the long shot, but not really a long shot. I showed it in qualifying, had the engine issue in Heat 1, the contact in the pre-final with Morgado, and then going into the main event, looked fast in the wet until a flat right rear tire took him out of the race. So just the luck hasn't been really with Kyle Wick over the last couple of seasons.
Sure enough. Yeah. Big weekend. Dave, you already mentioned the pace of Superkart once the track started to dry up. Beryl Art as well. Those two categories, 60% of the top 10 in the main event.
Yeah, each brand with 3 in the top 10, Maranello with 2 and GFC with 2. So that was kind of the storyline. And those are really the shifter focused brands. Superkart has a lot of shifter focus, Maranello, of course, GFC. But yeah, those are kind of the big guns. Those are the 4 big guns right now in Superkart racing.
One of my takeaways is that, and you mentioned it, I was not super pleased, or I'm not happy at all that they decided to pull off the guys that were getting lapped in the pro. It's a pro category. They're pulling guys off it or getting lapped. Because I really felt like AJ Myers and company, those that have gone for the slick tires, they needed maybe 1 or 2 more laps. You could, like, the minute Myers was coming out, I was super excited. He was coming out of 14, 15, and 16. And I'm like, okay, I want to see what lap time is, because he was finally being able to put the power down, and they had black flagged him and brought him in. And the next lap around, you could just see how dry the track was getting. I think you don't pull guys off in the pro category, because it's the pro category. If you're pulling guys off, let's drop the pro. Let's just call them shifter car drivers. Because if you're pro, leave the guys out on the racetrack. You're going to need to do that when you go to car racing or whatever you're going to do. So I didn't like that decision, especially with the rain the way it was. I think those guys deserved a chance to really leverage it, because we would have been treated to something pretty cool. Myers I think he was almost a lap down at that point. So could he have come back 50-something seconds? It would have been fun to watch.
So he made 5 laps before he got pulled off.
Yeah.
Wick did 3 laps before his tire went gone and done. So Wick did a 108 flat, and Myers and his last lap did a 110 flat. Oh. So yes, by the halfway point, because they got 21 laps in, by the halfway point, that track would have been dry enough for Myers to be extremely quicker.
Yeah. Oh,
because they did get down to a 56. The quickest actually was a 55 by Billy Musgrave, a 55.8. And then qualifying times was a 51.9. So, you do the math. I think that would have been a dominating victory.
It would have been so awesome to see those guys come.
But again, is it the teams that have to get together and decide that, or is it the drivers that say, hey, let us dictate this?
Yeah. that's just that's the takeaway there. All right, let's go to Pro X30 presented by Nash Motorsports. Here's the headline: British Invasion returns with Lawrence and Turney taking victories.
Yeah, that was kind of the joke in the Kart Chaser broadcast, wasn't it, Rob? Where the Canadian took the American and everybody else took the Brits.
All the Americans, their selections were British drivers. Yeah.
Well, they were right. You were wrong. So,
to a certain extent,
certain extent, yeah.
No, because I got, at least my guy was on the podium.
Your guy, yeah, Massimino was pretty good all weekend long. Fast time in qualifying on Saturday at 55.476, which was the same lap as Joe Turney, but Massimino had the tiebreaker. Yeah. But from there on Saturday, it was Gus Lawrence. He was third in the qualifying session, just like 46 thousandths off those top two guys. Came through with a pre-final win and then went on to win handily in the main event. As again, drivers not working together, Rob. That was kind of the story in Saturday's main.
Big time.
They allowed Gus Lawrence to get away, and he took advantage, pulling out to a 2-second victory.
Yeah, Paulie Massimino coming home in second, Jesus Vasquez Jr. in third. Diego Ramos ended up finishing fourth. David from deep in the field started 25th and was able to get himself forward. An overall, just as a statement, an overall great weekend for Ramos. He was just super good in both Pro X30 and the KA class.
Yeah, this was the Ramos we saw at the end of last year, and so it was good to see that, and also by Ruben Moya, who went up from 17th to 5th. Another strong performance for him after only doing one round in Tucson. Yeah,
and then turns around and puts it on the pole on Sunday morning as well.
Well, how would you describe this qualifying session on Sunday, Rob?
Yeah,
it was.
Can I just say that to a certain extent pissed me off? Because there probably should have been penalties for some impeding, but if you haven't watched it, folks, they all come out of the pits, out of pit lane. Paulie Massimino's up front, warming the tires up like crazy, and they essentially warm their tires up for the out lap, for the first flying lap, and then as they're coming out to finish their first flying lap, they're still going slow across to start lap number 2. So they've blown the opening. Number one, they haven't warmed their tires up on the out lap, they did. They didn't take the flying lap. And then because nobody was on power coming out of 13, 14, 15, and 16, they essentially threw away lap number 2. It all came down to one lap. Crazy.
Well, again, this is why, Superkarts USA is limited to time in qualifying, because they do want you to go out and put down a lap. So it was a strange game of chess. I get the idea of Massimino. He didn't want to be the leader, wanted somebody to go out. Unfortunately, the drivers that did go out ahead of him weren't the drivers he wanted to follow, because they were going to be slower at the tail end of the field. So, yeah, it was a game of chess that didn't work out as well. Massimino was 6th in that session, so it was kind of maybe a good thing, because you got Gus Lawrence back in 16th, which that kind of was a help for him. But you still had Moya, Hodgson, Turney, Ramos, Brown all putting in times ahead of Massimino, so it didn't really work out. And again, like you said, there was an opportunity for Superkarts USA to maybe apply some penalties for impeding.
So here's 2 lines for me on that one. There is this: the first and foremost, when you watch it, there was a number of drivers that kind of tried to get through to get going and got checked up. Right there could have been an immediate penalty. Whoever was in front of that guy rolling his tires up on I don't care what part of the racetrack. I think Hodgson was one of the guys that was trying to go at one point. The guy in front of him should have got a penalty, impeding penalty. 100% should have got an impeding penalty. No doubt about it. What was my second takeaway? Maybe
I don't know.
Oh, man.
Because it was good for the drivers who held back, maybe?
This is what I can't. There were guys up front that went, but then didn't go.
And then didn't go. Yeah.
I can't remember which driver it was. It was one of the drivers. He bolts out in front of him. He's all by himself, and then he turns around and starts looking behind him.
Yeah, I think it was one of the RPG guys. I think it was either Jose Alfine or somebody, or it could have been she. Not sure who it was.
It wasn't she.
They all have the same helmets. So
what are you doing? I go, you're out front coming through turn 12. Get on the throttle. Go 13 foot. You'll get 2 full laps in and get your tires where nobody else is.
I think we saw that. Yeah, we saw that KA Junior, one of the on Saturday. Yeah. The driver, Darren Kidd, just went out, laid down his lap, and it held through because everybody else was playing games.
Exactly. Anyways, so that's what happens. Turney in the pre-final, Turney steps things up still super fast over Ramos and Massimino. And then let's talk about the race Pro X30, David. The rain came, and it came aggressively. And we haven't seen a main event, Pro X30 main event at the Pro Tour in the rain for some time. And it was a good one. It just showed who's good in the wet for sure.
Since 2019, the Winter Nationals at Cal Speed was the last time we saw main event in the wet for Pro X30. And yeah, the rain came just as Mini Swift was wrapping up. That was a wild one. It was such a downpour. They allowed time for all the X30 guys to make the changeover. So that way it wasn't a massive rush. Plus, it kept everybody a little bit safe in terms of that because it was a complete downpour.
Oh, yeah.
So that was a thing. When the guys got on the racetrack, they said they could not see really well. So anytime there was somebody in front, very tough vision to be able to see on the racetrack. So the driver that got out front, Diego Ramos, he enjoyed clear sight vision
running,
and got away, was able to kind of put down laps, navigating the racetrack. Massimino and Turney went back and forth for second. Eventually Turney took over the spot, tried different areas on the racetrack and was able to start closing in, but it wasn't until the white flag that he was able to catch up to Ramos and take over the lead. And lead only the final lap to secure his third victory in the 4 rounds.
Yeah, at one point Ramos had about a 3-second lead, and then he went off in turn number 2 and dropped the wheels, came back on. That shrunk that down to maybe even less than a second. Then Turney went off in the same place, opened the gap up again, and then Turney went and got him. And on that last lap coming through turn number 10, Ramos just took maybe a little too much. I don't know if it was curb or it was too far out. I think he was too far outside, and he went off between 10 and 11, came back on. Turney able to essentially do the over-under and was able to come away with the race win there and pull away. Yeah, so indeed a great run for Turney. Talked about the fact of how horrible the visibility was when he was closing up on Ramos. Diego, though, still a strong run to second. Massimino in third. Jake Drew had a really good run to fourth. It's back to Massimino, kind of he soldiered his way through, had lots of open race. Behind him, Jake Drew ends up in the 4th spot and Gus Lawrence in 5th.
Yeah, Gus climbing back up to 5th after I think he fell back to outside the top 20.
Well, he was wrecked. Yeah, we didn't talk about that. Essentially coming through turn 2, obviously at the start, nobody can see anything. Turney actually drives off the racetrack. Yeah,
I was going to say, Turney got shoved off after 2 going to 3 and was basically in the grass going to the curb. As soon as he came on the racetrack, it shoved everybody to the outside. That took out Oliver Hodgson and another driver. I'm trying to remember who that was.
Yeah, me too.
And then as they came back the other way, that's when we saw heavy contact between, I believe it was Eric Doan and Keegan Kaminsky.
Yes.
Nearly taking them, Hodgson and the other driver who was sitting right there, out as well for a second time.
Yep.
So yeah, visibility was very difficult in those opening laps. And thankfully the rain kind of subsided itself. It came down a little bit more, but not as heavy as what it was. And so I think the vision got a little bit better as the race went on.
Takeaways on that one, David?
Well, one of the things overall in the weekend, I think, was the bad starts we saw on Saturday. A lot of contact with the no pushback. Better starts on Sunday, especially in the pre-final on Sunday, where there wasn't, we saw a massive wreck at the start of the main event on Saturday with guys just blasting one another going into the first turn. Thankfully, that went away on Sunday. And it was a good start, essentially, except for that mishap on the main event in the wet, going through turn 1 and 2. But that's something that's still going to kind of be reviewed and looked at as we go to Newcastle.
Yeah, you're right. That's the start was kind of from like 8th on back, where guys just were on top of each other and just full throttle down. I can't remember. I think it was somebody got right into the back of Hodgson hard.
Both of them. I think whoever started, both drivers who were behind him.
Well,
it was like the inside guy shoved him hard enough to where the outside guy could come through and clip him even more to spin him completely around.
And Hodgson just clipped the left rear of Finnegan Bailiff.
Yeah.
And Bailiff, it full on throttle, trying to hold a big, huge spin. He looped around in front of the entire field. It was, again, like we keep saying, if you're going to get rid of the pushback bumpers, double down on your cameras and start, like, 2 or 3 people should have been penalized in that. I don't know if anybody got penalized at the start. I have to go back and look.
No.
If they didn't, they should have. You got to do it. Otherwise, look, you got to penalize the behavior. Otherwise, it keeps happening. Simple.
No penalties.
There you go. Perfect. Uh, David, multiple drivers in the mix all weekend long. That was one of the cool things about this. Paulie Massimino, strong in all the categories. Gus Lawrence stepped it up in a big way. Joe Turney. Turney actually wasn't as good throughout the, he wasn't fantastic on Saturday. I talked to him. He said, yeah, we just kind of went in the wrong direction, stepped things up in the tough conditions. But, you throw Moya's name in there. There was just a lot of guys in the fight up front, which is super cool.
Yeah, it's just a matter of working together. You can't let the leader get away. That's what we saw on Saturday. Sunday, same thing. Turney and Massimino were going back and forth, and then the other guys kind of crept in a little bit there early on, allowed Ramos to get away. And thankfully for Turney, he knows his rain racing process and was able to run him down. But they just can't. Something we saw in Tucson was the lead drivers never really got away.
Sure.
And so that's something I think these guys are really going to have to focus on, especially at Newcastle, where you can get away if you keep fighting for position and letting the leader get away.
All right, into another break here. The race report presented by AIM Sports will continue. When we get back, we'll talk KA Senior. We'll go through both of the junior categories. Motor mounts. They keep your engine attached to your chassis, right? The answer is they're much more important than that. Your motor mount is critical in transferring 100% of the power from your engine through to your tires and the racetrack. You need this to get on the podium each and every time you race. Odenthal Racing Products is here for you, providing the best motor mounts on the karting market today, all designed to make sure you're using all the horsepower you pay for. Odenthal Racing Products is a family-owned and operated business with decades of karting experience in providing products with unmatched quality and value for our racing community. The Pro Series mount for 2-cycle engines, which is available in 0, 5, and 8-degree inclinations, provides a rigid structure to help keep vibration to a minimum without adding too much weight to your setup. The 4-cycle Easy Set system is one of the most popular mounts for the Briggs & Stratton 206 power plant. Multiple mounting holes provide the most adjustability depending on your chassis and seat placement. To ensure a tight fit to your chassis, our ORP wedge clamps get the job done, and they feature a number of design updates to provide a lower profile and lighter weight. The clamps are available from 28mm to 32mm in both standard and Euro style sizes. And now, Odenthal has also revolutionized the karting industry with its new Easy GP camera mounting system. Designed to mount anywhere on your chassis with 1 or 2 cameras, the ORP Easy GP camera mount is your solution to capture that onboard winning moment. Head to odenthalracing.com and find a dealer near you. Odenthal Racing Products, proudly made in the USA. Made in the USA. It's not just a statement, it's the mission at Factory Karts of America. Led by 5-time Supernational champion Billy Musgrave, Factory Karts manufactures their frames completely in-house at the Phoenix, Arizona facility. Built and designed from the ground up specifically for the American karting market, Factory Karts brings new innovations and solutions that are long overdue. Factory Karts bring together the highest quality materials to produce high-performance, long-lasting karts that have been designed and perfected from years of development. No other karting manufacturer stands behind its product as Factory Karts does, providing a 2-year warranty on all their frames. Join the Factory Karts official race team this season, hitting the Superkarts USA Pro Tour and Pro Kart Challenge, along with the new Southwest Super Series program. Full trackside support for Factory Kart competitors is available, along with Arrive and Drive programs and tent space housed under our new race team hauler that debuted at Supernationals 27. Remember when American Made meant more innovative, original, stronger, faster, and just plain better? Well, American Made is back. Contact Factory Karts today to join the American Made movement. Learn more by visiting factorykarts.com or email info@factorykarts.com. Let decades of experience and success lead you to the top of the podium. Join Brandon Jarsacrack Racing as your race team at the sport's major events in the United States. Brandon Jarsakrak is a 4-time United States Pro Kart Series champion, along with a multi-time Superkarts USA Pro Tour and WKA Manufacturers Cup Series race winner. Jarsakrak is ranked among one of the best from his generation to get behind the wheel of a racing kart. BJR provides full race team service and support at all USPKS, SCUSA, and Stars Championship Series events, along with trackside programs at the Trackhouse Motorplex in Mooresville, North Carolina. Partnering with Mike Doty Racing, Brandon's team of driver coaches and mechanics are passionate for the sport, providing decades of experience both on the track and working with many of today's karting standouts and current motorsport stars. Brandon Jarsakrak Racing offers a full range of services, including kart preparation, driver coaching, and race event support for both 2-cycle and 4-cycle competitors. BJR is an official LN Racing Kart team with OTK USA and is an official offset sport race team. Contact them today to develop a program based around your needs. Head to BrandonJarsakrak.com to learn more. Welcome back to episode 167 of the EKN Debrief. As myself, Rob Howden, and David Cole capping off our coverage of this past weekend Superkarts USA Pro Tour Spring Nationals from the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati. We'll continue here with the race report presented by AIM Sports, celebrating 30 years of Micron. KA100 Senior presented by Kart CRG. Here's the headline: Ramos and Massimino split weekend wins.
Yeah, almost a sweep for Massimino on Saturday, set fast time in qualifying, won the pre-final, was out to the lead in the main event, but Ramos was able to get by him with 2 laps to go, and that was it. Massimino tried. Ramos ran a pretty good defensive line, and Massimino actually ran a last straightaway ditch effort, coming up just short 19 thousandths of a second at the line, allowing Ramos to take his first win of the season as the defending champion.
Yeah, Paulie Massimino, in the end, 4 straight KA100 Senior pole positions, pole on Saturday and pole on Sunday, finishes second. James Overbeck, David, finishing in 3rd spot, and it was the end of a long day of work for James after an issue in qualifying.
Yeah, the engine had fuel coming out of the airbox, and so a flooded situation for him. They cleared it out, came from the tail end of the field to almost into the top 10 in the pre-final, and then worked his way up into the lead group there. Looked like he was going to try and help Massimino out, but just didn't quite have enough to help him out, and ended up finishing 3rd. So a great drive from a DNS in qualifying, finishing there ahead of Chase Hand and Isaac Malkit, the senior rookie, with a top 5 finish.
Yeah, Chase Hand was pretty good all weekend long. 3rd in the pre-final, 4th in the main event. Massimino, as I had said, 4 straight pole positions, rocking qualifying for KA Senior. He goes on to win the pre-final over Ruben Moya and Eli Warren, who was with the Hoats Driver Development. A very impressive weekend for Eli Warren in the fight there all weekend long. But David, let's talk a little bit about the main event and how things played out there.
Well, Massimino completed the sweep. That was it. A sweeping day for the North Carolina driver. Held off Ramos early on, and then Overbeck came in and essentially helped play a little bit of a teammate game to keep Ramos at bay. But Overbeck did try and challenge there in the last couple of corners, but Massimino was able to hold him off. Unfortunately for Overbeck, it was a penalty for contact with Chase Hand. That dropped him off the podium in 2nd down to 6th place. So that moved Ramos up to 2nd. Hand on the podium in 3rd. Eli Warren, who was a leader at one point in the pre-final and final early on, ended up finishing in 4th, with Ruben Moya with another top 5 finish to wrap up the weekend.
Yeah, as I said, Warren was right up in there, was he not? He was, he wanted to go to the lead, let's put it that way, and had a good run, ends up P4. A lot of shaking and baking in that category, as we all know, back and forth action, kind of just the way things happen in KA Senior. David, what are your takeaways on this one?
Well, something we noticed this a little bit more in Tucson, but same thing here at MCC. Pro drivers continue to pace the class. 6 of the 10 top 5 finishers were pro drivers. So that includes Ramos, Massimino, Overbeck, who now is double dutying, and Moya as well too. All 6 of the 10 top 5 finishers on the weekend. So you got Hand, Malkit, Warren, and as the only drivers to get into the top 5 that are just KA drivers.
So that begs the question: would you like to see them go back to one or the other?
Me personally, yes.
Yes.
I think that's where it should go. I don't
agree.
think Superkarts USA will. I think for Supernats, you can allow it. I think, again, it's a one-off race. Let's do that.
Yep.
Or because you already allow guys doing like Pro Shifter and Master Shifter, so you got to allow it for Supernats, I think. But I think for Pro Tour, I think you're either pro or you're not pro.
Yeah, I'm the same. And listen, and I think the same for the Supernats. I don't think the pro driver should be running Master Shifter either.
I don't, but until things change, I don't see it happening.
Yeah, until you and I own an organization,
right?
Doesn't matter what we think. But I don't like it. I don't like it.
Well, that's not a rumor, is it? That we're buying SCUSA?
No. Oh my God! Can you? Yeah, right. I'll say this. I listen. It's KA is not designated as a semi-pro class.
Yeah.
Right. But SCUSA had S1 and S2. It was pro and semi-pro. KA is not designated as a semi-pro category, so the pro categories can come in. I do love the idea of having it as where junior drivers come first, race KA, and then eventually go to Pro X30. I like that myself. I think that would be a great way to do it. I understand that SCUSA says, no, we'd rather have people running in both categories. We'd like to have all those entries. We'd like to have, we need those entries to be profitable on these expensive weekends. I'm not a fan of it.
No, not a fan. It's not going to change until we buy it.
What? Not a chance. Not a chance. One of my takeaways is just, and again, we talked about the pro drivers being in the category, but Paulie Massimino in this class is just lights out. He's just having such a fantastic season. There's a calmness to him, and I was a little bit pissed with him. When he was downplaying his ability in the rain. Sometimes I'm good, sometimes I'm really bad. These British guys. Although he wasn't right there with Tourney in the rain, he still did a tremendous job. I don't like when he downplays himself there like that. When it comes to the KA stuff, man, there's just a level of confidence right now that he knows with he and the team, they can go out there and get it done in KA. The four straight poles, come on, that's amazing.
Again, it comes with experience and success. So when the more success you get, like he has been getting, the more confidence you have and the less you talk yourself down. Yeah. I mean, let's face it, he was 9/10 off Tourney's fast lap. So it was still, but again, he finished third. He stayed out of trouble in the Pro X30. But yes, for the KA side, like that, the confidence is there. Championship wise, it's going to be a pretty tough way to take him out of the top spot. But again, anything can happen in racing.
True enough. One more takeaway here, David. You put this one in here. I'll let you have it. Yeah,
Chase Hand, we've seen him win, I believe, on the Pro Tour and the junior ranks, if not other major events. And I think he's on the cusp of getting that Pro Tour victory in the KA100 Senior. Again, Agreed. One of the better drivers that is not, quote unquote, in the pro division or pro license or whatever, however you want to look at it, right there with a fourth on Saturday and a third on Sunday. So if those pro drivers aren't there, that's a 2 wins for him.
Yeah,
and
right.
And so I think that's where we're coming along with the lines of why are the pro drivers in KA Senior? They're just taking trophies away. They're essentially cherry picking like you do in basketball.
Yeah, true enough. All right, let's go to KA 100 Junior, presented by TKG Beryl Art USA. We'll go KA Junior, then X30 Junior. So many of the names will be the same. But here's the headline for KA Junior: Samet earns one, gifted one for first Pro Tour triumphs.
Yeah, a quite unique story in this category. We talked about it in the qualifying session. KA Junior, for some reason, is one of those where people play games and you run out of time, especially in the slower pace where you're almost a minute a lap. And Darren Kidd avoided all that to set fast time of 58.520. Unfortunately for him, a spin early on in the pre-final took him out of contention, and he wasn't to be seen again the rest of the weekend up at the front of the field. So, that allowed Tristan Murphy to go on to take the pre-final win. But main event time, it was a hectic battle. A lot of drivers in the shuffle.
It was a slugfest.
And eventually, it was Marco Samet making his first KA start of the season. decided to do double duty, working alongside Travis Pettit, who's double duty, and Samet came away with his first Pro Tour victory of his career. So a great drive for him in his KA Junior debut on the season, picking up that victory.
Yeah, it's a fantastic run for him, no doubt about that. He kind of got himself out into the front, some little bit of chaos behind him. He's able to jet away, puts the laps down, and a big victory for Marco Sam. But especially you think that he's been with Brandon Jarsekrak Racing for a number of years. Travis Pettit comes in, he wins at the Stars deal, so you have a little bit of pressure on you. Talking to Brandon Jarsekrak and the guys at the team, it's kind of lit a fire under Marco, which is always great, right? It's just shakes things up a little bit. And he stepped it up and came away with a win. And I think you and I both know when drivers start winning races, that extra level of confidence often opens the floodgates. Fantastic run for him to get the victory. Colton Schniegenberg was in the middle of the fight the entire weekend as well, was really up on it. I called it a slugfest. He was right in the middle of it the entire time up front. P2 on the racetrack, but got DQ'd for a carb day. What happened? Any insight into that? I didn't get a chance to talk to anybody.
I believe it was like a low speed situation. Not sure exactly how that all measures out, but yes, a low speed.
So Schniegenberg had finished second. He gets DQ. That moves Tristan Murphy up into second spot. Nathan Golseth into third. Travis Pettit ends up in the fourth position. Cameron Johnson rounding out the top five.
Yeah, and then you go into Sunday, and Travis Pettit took over, was the driver to beat, setting fast time in qualifying, winning the pre-final over Nico Orbezo, the round one winner, and then Colton Schniegenberg, as you said, right there in the third spot. The main event ended up being another battle. Eventually, it was the BJR drivers of Pettit and Samet that were able to get to the front late in the race. This time it was Samet that was kind of playing defense for Pettit, as this allowed Travis Pettit to go on to take the checkered flag on the racetrack. Unfortunately for him, this was a disqualification in the tech barn with a spark plug issue. And then Samet got his second victory handed to him to sweep the race wins in KA's Junior.
Yeah, Nico Kotowski coming home in the second spot. Schniegenberg, again, talked about how good he was on the weekend, finishing in third. Tristan Murphy, second, top five of the weekend. And Ruben Gutierrez, let's call it a breakthrough weekend, a breakout weekend for the SCUSA Mexico driver. David, the RPG pilot, was in the fight all weekend long.
Yeah, with the absence of Travis Pettit, the question is who's going to be the new lead driver on the junior ranks for RPG, and Gutierrez has submitted his resume for that.
Indeed, with some good credits already as well. David, in takeaways here, you've got it down, and I like this. Marco Samet stepping up in 2026. Will this be a big breakout for Samet?
Well, I think this is kind of the turning point. It gives a little confidence to him. Talking with Brandon Jarsekrak, he's got a new mindset. Going to Europe, we'll have a driver diary with Marco regarding his first trip to the Academy Trophy program, racing over there. But it's kind of turn the page. He's kind of progressing up that maturity level and aggression level to where he wants to be the guy to beat now.
Yeah, so like you said, flip the switch, right?
Yeah. So it's going to be, we'll have to wait and see what happens in the future races, but I got to assume he's going to be more and more upfront.
Yeah, I like that. Let's go to X30 Junior, presented by Rawlins and Performance Group. Here's the headline. Pettit gets first with BJR, loses second with penalty.
Yeah, because it was essentially BJR winning all four races on the racetrack in the junior categories. So Saturday, they did pick up both wins. We talked about Samet picking up the KA Junior. It was Pettit that swept the action in X30 Junior on Saturday, fast time in qualifying, winning the pre-final, and then winning the main event, getting away late in the race to a 1.6 margin of victory, securing his first SCUSA Pro Tour win with Brandon Jarsekrak Racing.
Yeah, Ruben Gutierrez finishing in second, Maxwell Macha in third, Grayson Walcott had a good weekend as well in the RPG Cosmic, and Aston Wyatt rounding out the top five. Aston Woon actually was P4 on the racetrack, but a penalty for contact dropped him down to seventh. I mentioned Maxwell Macha, David, finishing third on Saturday, came back and put it on the pole on Sunday morning.
Yeah, a driver who won both junior races at the Road Tax RMC America's Trophy program. Just he came on late every day because he wasn't quite there early on in the day, but came on late, except for on Sunday where he set fast time on qualifying, but then got shuffled down the order as Ashton Woon came away with the pre-final win ahead of Gutierrez and Pettit. And then in the main event, it was a lot of drivers up front. I think at one time the lead pack was 12. It went down to like 4 drivers and then bunched right back up into a gaggle of carts. Pettit grabbed the lead from Moon on the final circuit to be able to cross the line as the provisional winner. Unfortunately for him, he was penalized for blocking. Not sure when that occurred, if it was the last lap or if it was sometime earlier in the race. But the penalty went through, and unfortunately for him, is it a 6 second or 10 second? I'm trying to remember. I didn't pick up my results.
Have a quick look, come back with that.
It was only 5 seconds for blocking. It dropped him from first to 17th. So that tells you how bunched up the field was there late in the race to suffer. Typically that's like maybe a 6 to 10 position, but yeah, all the way back to 17. So that promoted round 1 winner Ashton Woon to the top of the podium.
Yeah, Ashton was getting challenged big time by Pettit at the end there, and just tried to pinch the exit, trying to kind of essentially block the over-under in turn number 11, and the thing just did not come out of the corner well after he pinched it down, and that allowed Pettit to get by on that final lap. So indeed, just a little error there, but he still comes away with the race win over Tristan Murphy, Gutierrez, Golseth, and Maxwell Macha. David, one of the takeaways you had here, I'll lead it in, and I agree with you on this. Brandon Jarsa Crack Racing has joined Rawlson Performance Group and Speed Concepts Racing as top contenders in these junior ranks right now.
Yeah, we've seen it. Either RPG or Speed Concepts Racing are taking wins and championships. You know, we've seen Travis Pettit go from Speed Concepts Racing to Rawlson Performance Group and now to Brandon Jarsa Crack Racing. But it's not just Pettit now; it's Marco Samet who's right there. And unfortunately for Samet, who was in the fight both days in X30 Junior, it was a flat tire by having the beadlocks ripped out due to contact both days that took him out of the main event. So we could have saw maybe 4 podium finishes for Samet for BJR on the weekend. And
if there's anybody knocking on the door as well, it'll be Ryan Perry Motorsports. They've got some drivers right up in
they're there. Yeah. No, they're there. They just have not broke through with the wins. That's just something, you know, I'm waiting for Tristan Murphy to get that win. It's going to happen. Schneekenberg, he's the junior rookie, essentially. Yeah. He's right there providing it. Maybe it's just the dynamics between the two. Maybe they just need to be more cadet style and work together and get away from everybody, because it feels like that can happen. We saw, you know, the margin of victory was over a second for Pettit on Saturday. Yeah. And then same thing on Sunday where, you know, everybody's fighting everybody. Work together.
When we do get back from the break, one more little bit here before we wrap things up with a takeaway here. But when we get back from the break, we're going to talk about an RPM breakaway, right?
Yeah.
They know how to get it done in the 10. They're just not doing it right.
That's what I said. Yes.
They're not getting it right yet done in the junior categories. One final takeaway. We've already kind of touched on it. Great first weekend for Ruben Gutierrez. 3 top 5s, David, over the 4 finals.
Yeah, great start for him as SCUSA Pro Tour debut with RPG as well. I believe he races CRG back in Mexico. So quite a change and quite a performance on the weekend at MCC for Gutierrez.
All right, folks, when we get back, we'll have a look at the KA Masters category, and we'll do both Mini and Micro Swift. CRG is one of the most iconic brands in the world of karting with a never-ending focus on winning. Kart CRG USA is the North American distributor for all CRG products. Based outside of Houston, Texas, Kart CRG USA supports CRG dealers across the continent, reaching every corner of North America. The CRG KT5 has been designed specifically for the US market. The KT5 is the perfect fit for X30, KA100, and other tag platforms, featuring the new Aero package and VEN 11B braking system. For cadet drivers, the CRG Black Beer continues to log in victories and championships across the globe. and is utilized in both 2-cycle and 4-cycle competition here in North America. Longtime CRG drivers will be happy to know the CRG Road Rebel, the standard in quality and performance, continues its excellence for those in the shifter kart ranks. The CRG FS4 chassis is the ideal choice for racers in Briggs & Stratton competition, with numerous podium results across classes at the CKNA divisional and national events. From pure racing to karting entertainment, many tracks, both indoor and outdoor, have made the switch to the CRG Centurion rental kart line. 5 different models for both gas-powered or electric engines can fit any track's needs for a new rental kart fleet. Kart CRG USA has a full inventory of rental karts available for new and existing facilities. For more information on the CRG product line, head to kartcrgusa.com, or to inquire about a North American dealer near you, please email us at sales@kartcrg.com. Since 2013, Team Benek has been one of the leading driver development race teams and kart chassis brands in North America. Numerous victories and championships at all levels of the sport have been earned by drivers racing under Team Benek. Benek Kart, manufactured in Italy, utilizes modern technology and materials to deliver the best product for the racetrack. The Benek Breton 950mm chassis is the flagship model, aimed at cadet-level karting. No matter the power plant, the Benek Breton takes drivers to the top of the podium. Introduced this season is the new full-size chassis, the Benek Torpedo. The frame is designed for single-speed competition for junior, senior, and masters level drivers in 100cc and 125cc categories. Coming later this year will be the new shifter kart model for the North American market. Not only is the Benek kart found at dealers across the USA, but around the world with distributors in Asia, Mexico, and South America. The Florida-based Team Benek can be found at all major karting championships across the United States, including the Florida Winter Tour, Superkarts USA Pro Tour, United States Pro Kart Series, and many more events including Rock Vegas and the Superkarts USA SuperNationals. Find out more about the Benek kart and Team Benek at benek-kart.com.
Do you want to become a professional race car driver? Are you ready to take your first steps into car racing? If so, Allenberg Racing School is the ideal place for you to make that happen. And as a bonus, our school is located at everyone's bucket list track, WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. From your first steps in a Formula car, all the way to racing in the USF Pro Championships and the USF Junior Series, it's all part of our program at Allenberg Racing Schools and our competition operation, Berg Racing. At Allenberg Racing Schools, you'll learn from a former Formula One driver and will be driving a full-on carbon fiber tub Tatis race car with aerodynamic wings and racing slicks. Not an old technology tube frame car. You'll get more track time per day than at any other school. And our 3-day and advanced programs will have you prepared to race competitively with our Bird Racing program, which participates in both the Ligier JFC Championship and the USF Junior Championship. To learn more, check us out online at allenbergracingschools.com. Be a racer.
Welcome back to the EKN Debrief, episode 167, to cap off our coverage of the Superkarts USA Pro Tour Spring Nationals. The race report continuing here, presented by AIM Sports. We'll go to KA 100 Masters, presented by Avinco Tires. And here's the headline: Barrios with near sweep of weekend.
Yeah, it was basically, 2 mistakes that cost him a sweep on the weekend for the RPG driver. A 59.585 in qualifying gave him the fast time, and he drove away to a massive win in the pre-final. Unfortunately for him, he both went outside the tram line and jump-started the pre-final race, so that those penalties took the win away, put John May on the pole position in his SCUSA Pro Tour K100 Master debut. But Barrios was just too quick, got to the lead early on, and drove away to a near 6-second margin of victory in the main event.
Yeah, big one for him. DeLeo, John May, Janae Din, and Christian Smith rounding out the top 5. John May making his return and onto the podium in the first race. Next day, as you said, David Barrios strong out of the gate again, qualified on pole. No issues this time, though, as he's able to rock and roll throughout the entire day.
Yeah, just a dominant performance. RPG is really good at this track, and Barrios showed it to be in the KA Master Division along with his junior and senior compadres. And DeLeo came on a little bit later in the main event, which was good for him, making their first trip from Arizona to MCC. But Barrios was just too strong overall and scored a double win. So now it's essentially Barrios and DeLeo for the championship going to Newcastle.
I'll throw Josh Sarche in there as well. He had a couple podiums at the Winter Nationals. They ended up getting third behind Barrios and DeLeo here. So not all said and done for Josh Sarche, but those three drivers likely in the battle at the end as Jonathan May and De La Garza round out the top five. Takeaway for this one, David, here, and I'll let you fill this in. And indeed, this is a good comment. Will this be the last season for Masters Championships of the SCUSA Pro Tour? Masters Shifter already gone. 7 drivers here at the SpringNats. I don't see SCUSA bringing it back after this year.
I don't either. Again, we're already long days, and it's about an hour per category that we're on track. And if we're not going to have the 18 to 20 drivers in this category, there's really no reason to have this category run, very similar to why Master Shifter is not there anymore.
Yeah.
If the numbers aren't going to support it and the drivers aren't going to support all 3 events in the Pro Tour, it's not going to be there. We saw support at the Winter Series, so that was good. I thought we were going to see that at the Pro Tour, especially after seeing the big numbers in Tucson. But unfortunately, the Masters drivers are worse than the little kid. They keep changing their minds every second of the day. So to be honest, Rob, I don't see it coming back. I think it's going to be a Super Nationals only category unless, you get the 15 guys that are going to pay for all 3 rounds of the Pro Tour.
And I wouldn't even do it with 15. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. To be honest, it's
20 is a better number to have, but you got to start somewhere. And if you're not going to get at least 15, then there's no sense, because if you average out the cost to have all the workers out there for that extra hour, it adds up. Yeah.
Let's go to Mini Swift presented by Mega Power Engines. Here's the headline: Nitro Kart Double with Francisco and Stoffel.
Yep, it was Mason Brody, the 2-time winner at the Winter Nationals, that was leading the way. 101.811 in qualifying, and then won the pre-final ahead of Jaden Francisco, making his 2026 Pro Tour debut. And it was those 2 Nitro Kart drivers that were able to break away, and Francisco used the experience a little bit to beat out Brody at the line just by 45 thousandths of a second for the victory.
Finally, 2 drivers hooking up, working together, not battling early and pulling away. Brody, I would like to have seen Brody had a better shot at it, because he was the wingman the entire race and came up just short in the drag race at the line. But nonetheless, the 2 RPM drivers able to finally get away. Yeah. So good to see that.
It's a great points day for Brody, because he was P1 in the points chase because Francisco wasn't there in Tucson.
Yeah, and again, like I said, qualifies on pole, wins the pre-final second, put himself in a great spot right now to potentially win the championship. Dustin Westbrook ends up, Dutch Westbrook ends up in the 3rd spot, Hudson Howard, and then Lucas Tarango rounding out the top 5. Brody comes back the next day, qualifies on pole on Sunday again. He and Francisco again 1-2 in the pre-final. But Dave, the rain came at the end of the Mini Swift race, or kind of middle of the Mini Swift race. The drivers do a fantastic job, and shout out to them, because it was wild. It really started coming down on the final lap. We had a couple of drivers go off. One of them was actually Aiden Go. They were coming through turn 11. Brody went wide to try to grab the extra grip. Go went down the inside and lost the rear. He literally just essentially cleared out Brody coming through 11. Hudson Howard got involved as well. In the end, Brody Stoffel comes away with the race win.
Yeah, it was really the last couple of laps in the last lap when it really got heavy, and the drivers really had to be tiptoeing around the racetrack. Yeah, and unfortunately, the contact down there at the bottom of the hill took out 3 of the contenders, including championship driver Brody. But in the end, Brody Stoffel able to hold on through the final lap and come away with his first SCUSA Pro Tour victory in the category. Francisco tiptoeing to second. So again, Nitro Kart 1-2.
Yeah, and another podium for Dutch Westbrook as well. Great run all weekend, to be honest, for Slate Harrell, who's running with MPG Motorsports. Great job for him. Was in the middle of the fight the whole time. He was P4 on Sunday, and Samuel Cheveri rounding out the top 5 there. Dave, would your takeaways for Mini Swift?
Yeah, again, great effort by the kids in the downpour on that final lap, holding on as best as they could. We saw Slate Harrell go off at the end of turn 1 after the checkered flag. Drivers were going off like crazy. It was chaos trying to get all the drivers back into the scale line at the end of the race there. So kudos to them for manning up as best as they could around the racetrack there. And again, a complete weekend sweep for Nitro Kart, taking the top spot in all 6 on-track sessions.
Yeah, indeed. We'll go to Micro Swift now, presented by Grupo Santana Vega. Here's the headline: Wyatt takes point lead. Sullivan earns first Pro Tour victory.
Yeah, a very up and down or chaotic day in terms of drivers all over the place in this category. Very unfamiliar like with this one. Katowski, who we thought was going to be pretty dominant on the weekend, set fast time in qualifying, but not necessarily disqualification, but I think it was just a penalty to the tail of the field because he had tools on the grid. So that put him back to 26 on the grid for the main event. So interesting penalty handed out there, which I don't understand why you can have tools on the grid for rain changeover, but I guess you can't when it's still dry. I don't know that situation.
That's
but
an interesting.
Anyway, this allowed Bo Wyatt to essentially be the driver to beat the rest of Saturday, winning the pre-final and scoring the victory in the main event. It was he and Tristan Francisco that were 1-2 at the line. Unfortunately for Francisco, a jump start penalty dropped him down from 2nd to 5th in the order. Lucas, I can't say that name, Rob. See, I told you.
That's a tough one. Compatiello.
Does that sound right?
Yeah, Compatiello.
Okay. Compatiello. I want to get it right. He had a penalty for contact, so that dropped him off the podium to 4th, which allowed Jack Katowski, who drove all the way from 26 to essentially be P3 in the final results, landing on the podium and it was funny at the podium, he and Ramos were debating who had a better drive from the tail end of the field. And I think they were pretty similar. So, nice. So that was cool to see.
Trey Sanders ended up finishing in 2nd, Katowski 3rd, Compatiello in 4th, and Francisco in 5th. Francisco came back with pole on Sunday morning, but again, Bo Wyatt to the front to he and Katowski 1st and 2nd in the pre-final. Actually 3rd for Katowski as Francisco was P2, but a issue with the rear bumper dropped him to the tail of the field. The driver finishing in 3rd, a strong breakout weekend for Shep Sullivan. He ends up finishing 3rd in the pre-final. And David, as things shook down, he'd end up with a really good finish. He ended up winning on Sunday, but let's talk about how it happened.
Yeah, Wyatt and Katowski it was Wyatt. Yes, Wyatt and Katowski essentially were able to kind of break away from the field, and Sullivan kind of hung back there in the 3rd spot, basically all by himself. And so Katowski and Wyatt battled for the win over the final laps. Katowski was able to come away with the lead and take the checkered flag as a provisional winner. Unfortunately for him, he was penalized for contact with Wyatt. That dropped him out of the 1st spot, moved him to 2nd in the final standings, as Wyatt was penalized with a pushback bumper issue. So that dropped him from 2nd down to 6th and out of the top 5. And that promoted Shep Sullivan from getting his first podium, let alone crossing line in 3rd, to now promoted as a race winner. So his first SCUSA Pro Tour victory and first Pro Tour podium all on the same day.
He did a great job. He was right there with Wyatt and Katowski up front, was kind of slowly falling off. They were kind of dropping him a little bit near the end there, but stayed out of trouble, had a really strong run, and given a fantastic victory there after penalties for the other 2 drivers. So Sullivan gets the win, Katowski 2nd, Compatiello in 3rd, Wyatt 4th, and Dusty Strayer rounding out the top 5. David, a messy weekend as we dive into our takeaway section. Messy weekend all told. Penalties. What are your thoughts on this?
This is my what's the word I'm looking for? not column, but my editorial.
Your editorial, your op-ed for this segment. And let me so again, listen, when we're talking about micros, you got to lean a lot to the parents and the coaches, because you're so much more connected than you would be with a junior or a senior driver. So what are your thoughts on this?
They're getting in the way, Rob.
Yeah.
Let the kids just go race and have fun. They're just screaming and yelling at scales and screaming and yelling at the grid. And it's just, I don't know. It's probably more so on the parents and coaches that all this is happening rather than the kids. Because earlier in the season, we saw some really great racing, and now it's starting to get a little messy. And I'm wondering if it's because of the parents and coaches. But
like, is the pressure getting put on?
That's my point. They're being told to do certain things, and maybe that's not what you should be. Maybe just go out there and put down your fast laps.
Yeah, just
go
and have
do
fun.
that.
Yeah, true enough. That's a possibility. Again, I think every sport we see the emotion, a lot more emotions, I think, out of the parents and the coaches than you see a lot of the times. Because literally, you'll walk around the paddock afterwards, and maybe the parents are all jacked up, but the micro and the mini kids are out playing soccer, or they're all hanging out and playing, having
buying
fun,
ice cream, doing whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And instead, their parents, everybody's fired up. So, hey, one other thing coming out of the gate, Q1. Obviously, fantastic start for Jack Katowski to start the season. Are you feeling that maybe as we're kind of 6 months in, 5-6 months in, that some of the younger drivers starting to catch up a little bit here?
Well, I think that's the other half of this editorial is that, okay, now all these drivers are getting up there. They're racing for wins. They're racing for podiums. So that does add to the pressure. And yes, it's great to win and land on the podium, but I don't think we need that type of pressure. But I think the drivers now have improved over the first 6 months to be there with Katowski, who we thought was just going to dominate all year after he dominated the Winter Series. So it's great to see the development of the drivers on the racetrack to get quicker and quicker and be right there with Katowski all weekend. And so I think we're, as we go to Summer Nats, we're going to see a lot more drivers in contention for the win.
There you have it, folks. One more break of the action. We'll cap off this edition of the Debrief when we get back. Is IndyCar your dream? If it is, for 2024 and beyond, the path from karting to IndyCar has gotten even clearer. It's time to look into the new USF Juniors program and the Tatis JR23. As a first step of the USF Pro Championships presented by Continental Tires, the USF Junior Series will feature a 6-event, 13-race schedule to train racers for the move into the USF 2000 Championship presented by Continental Tires. 3 of the events in 2024 will run alongside IndyCar at Mid-Ohio, Road America, and Portland. The champion will win a scholarship worth over $263,000, and there's a total prize fund that will exceed $330,000. The series utilizes the state-of-the-art Tatis JR23 race car, which is a development version of the USF 22 used in USF 2000. It's the ideal entry point for career-minded karters moving into the car racing ladder. Safety is always front and center in the minds of the series promoters, and the new USF Juniors car also features the Halo, and races are supported by members of the AMR IndyCar safety team. If IndyCar is your goal, USF Juniors is the starting line. For more information, visit www.usfjuniors.com and follow USF Juniors on social media. In karting, it's important to be supported by the right people. With over 40 years of experience in the sport, Trinity Karting Group has everything you need to make your program successful. We do it all, and we do it right. Trackside support and arrive and drive programs at many of karting's biggest East Coast events, full product sales and service, and professional coaching from our experienced staff. Trinity Karting Group is a full-service operation based at the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati, which gives us access to our custom-designed driver training facility. This allows us to offer private one-on-one coaching to take you to the next level. From arrive and drive and coaching programs to the parts you need, let Trinity Karting Group provide you with customer service and a racing experience second to none. In 2025, Trinity Karting Group established TKG Bureau Art USA in cooperation with North American distributor PSL Karting. The Trinity Karting Group carries the colors of the Birol Art brand, as TKG Birol Art USA helps to bridge the connection between current and future dealers here in the USA. TKG has in stock IAMI, Briggs & Stratton, MG, Iveco tires, and more products for those in the Ohio and Midwest region. Trinity Karting Group has a long history in the sport with a winning pedigree, and we are dedicated to driver development. We take pride in our professional approach and our positive attitude. Let us build a custom race program for you. Give us a call at 513-421-4463 or check us out online at trinitykartinggroup.com. Fast, fair, and fun. Ignite Karting offers you all of that at an affordable price. Ignite Karting utilizes the spec Margay Ignite K3 chassis with a Briggs & Stratton 206 engine and the Hoosier R80 tire. Everyone in the rookie, junior, senior, heavy, and masters classes compete on the same Ignite K3 chassis, which puts all the emphasis squarely on driver development. Additionally, Ignite Karting is accessible at the local, regional, and national level. Special events for the season include the Ignite Majors that begin with the annual trip to the Daytona International Speedway as part of the WKA Daytona Kart Week, running in both the sprint and road racing events. Those in the Midwest can enjoy the regionally based Ignite Challenge, featuring 5 iconic facilities. Local club programs have also been established in states all across the country, Idaho to Texas, Nebraska to New York, with more tracks and clubs joining the Ignite Karting program. Be part of fast, fun, and great memories with Margay Racing at an Ignite track near you. All information on Ignite events and Ignite kart packages, including dealers in your area, are available at ignitekarting.com. Get off the couch and onto the track this year. Ignite Karting. Fuel your passion. All right, let's finish this one here up. The EKN Debrief, episode 167, finishing up our coverage of the Superkarts USA Pro Tour Spring Nationals this past weekend at the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati. David Cole along with me here, Rob Howden. David, let's have a look at the Constructors' Championship. 8 brands for 15 wins.
Yeah, again, match of what we saw at the Spring Nationals. This time, however, it's LN Kart with 4 wins leading the way, all under the brand of Jars Crack Racing tent. 3 wins for Cosmic, 2 of them from Mario Barrios, another from Gus Lawrence under the RPG banner. Nitro Kart picking up both wins in the mini category. Bennett Kart picking up both wins in the micro division. Sodi Kart, of course, with the 1 win from Morgado. Kart Republic with Joe Turney. Burrell Arts with Diego Ramos, and the CS55 Carlos Sainz chassis with Ashton Woon picking up a win in the junior category.
Let's wrap things up. Only 1 flag, David, during the racing action. No major injuries. There was a pretty good wreck out of turn 1 over to turn number 2. Connor Lipka was involved in that one. Messaged with the family a little bit. He's beaten up. They were going to. They actually took him to the hospital just for further evaluation. They're going to go back into the hospital. I haven't reached out to Chris Lipka yet, but not expecting any major injuries. Maybe just a sprain kind of thing. So it was a wild wreck. Todd McCall caught that shot. That's for sure.
Wild photos. Yeah. Hard incident. But yes, luckily to be conscious, walk away, just observations really more so than anything else. And there was a broken arm on Thursday practice, unfortunately, during the Thursday session. But so that was the only major injuries that I did hear of throughout the weekend.
Yeah, so I know only the 1 red flag during the racing action.
Yes, and it was a tough birthday for Connor Lipka.
It's Connor's birthday too, 12th birthday. Horrible. I like your question here. Is turn 1 the toughest turn in the USA? A number of drivers dropping the wheel at the exit of that corner.
We saw Formal do it, who is a 4-time Super Nationals winner. We saw the Kiwi do it with an amazing Danny Sullivan S360 where he only lost 1 position and kept going.
Tomlinson,
just a lot of drivers struggling. Obviously, the Connor Lipka incident was in turn 1. So I think this is probably the toughest. It's very similar to, remember, I think it was it was essentially the turn we sat out at the Supernats for many years. It was at the end of the long straightaway, a big sweeping 90-degree corner, and drivers just trying to push the limits. Yeah. And you can only go so far. And that's the thing, like the curbing there, you hit it, it's going to throw you off. It's not an easy ride over, kind of like maybe Newcastle or some of the other curbs that we do have on the racetracks here. But I gotta think, I've never driven it. You were just there for the first time this year, this past weekend. I can't think of another turn anywhere else on any racetrack that is this difficult.
Interesting way to look at it. Yeah, listen, you got to drive within yourself. It's not that dissimilar to the opening corner at the end of the straightaway at Newcastle, is it really? It's a 90-degree. It's a 90-degree left-hander. We just saw lots of drivers making mistakes.
Yeah, I
feel for too much.
I feel it's not as sharp, so maybe that it's kind of misleading. You know, so what I mean?
More of a sweeper as a.
It's more of a sweeper that
it is
again,
true.
Especially in the younger categories, it's flat out, right?
Yeah.
And so any kind of little bobble, it sends you out in the curb, and then if you go over the curb, now you're in the dips, and that's what gets you. As soon as you hit those dips, you're done.
Yeah, yeah, because you high side it, you drop the wheel.
Yeah,
you bottom out, whatever it may be.
But again, even in the starts, we saw, with the Pro X30 and other categories, it's chaos sometimes for the starts because of the nature of the corner. So I almost want to do like a social media thing with this. Is turn 1 at MCC the toughest turn in the USA?
What are your thoughts on the pushback bumper removal for Pro X30?
Yeah, again, I think it's still kind of mixed reviews, depending on who you are or how you got through that corner, the starts. I think that's the issue, but even more so now in Pro Shifter, we saw Pro Shifter guys in some of their interviews complaining about, if there was pushback like we have in Europe, you wouldn't see drivers getting shoved out of the way. But again, are we doing contact or no contact kind of thing? Well,
listen, there's your block and bump and run contact, and there's just being an idiot and wrecking guys. And again, it goes back to race control because you either put it in the hand of the pro drivers. Okay, so here's the deal. My time to editorialize.
Ooh.
You either say that you're pro drivers and we'll let you guys kind of handle it on the racetrack. So back in the 90s rather. If you took me out in this race, I wrote your number down and you weren't finishing the next heat race. You know what I mean? Like you take one guy out, I'll take you out the next race, whatever it may be. If you're not going to do that, and if the guys are getting pissed off that they're getting wrecked all the time, then it's back to race control. And I keep saying that you have to use penalties to educate on behavior. You do X, Y happens. If you do X and Y doesn't happen, they keep doing X, and it's pretty easy. Just get it done. That's one of the things why I always love just using the black flag on the racetrack, because then there's no protesting, right? Because the minute you're black flag off the racetrack because you took a guy out, you can't protest it, and there's no BS. Just don't do it again. So,
well, there have been scenarios where the wrong person's getting black flagged for the wrong thing. So
I understand that for sure. Yeah, there are.
It might have happened this weekend as well too.
Exactly. Anyways, it's race control.
Yeah, and again, I think on the Pro Shifter side of things, it's been, hey, the racers are dictating it, and I think Kyle Wick was, if the opportunity arose in the main event, was going to give a little payback to Morgado for the incident in the pre-final. Unfortunately for him, he had that rear tire go away.
Yeah.
And so I think it's more whining than anything else. Right? Yeah. You got, Morgado got shoved away at the start, and he was the one that was really whining about that, and then and he still powers through to come back and his contact was more side by side than anything. So,
all right, we are past an hour and a half. Let's wrap this up. EKN Trackside Live race calendar presented by Rawlson Performance Group. At the Rawlson Performance Group, we strive for ultimate success. We're more than just an arrive and drive race team with countless wins on the national and regional level. Our focus is on complete driver development, and that's where the success is fueled. We combine one-on-one coaching, on-track instruction, and intensive data debriefing with unparalleled kart and engine prep. Our program will help you raise your game. We'll take you to the next level. If that's your goal, RPG needs to be your next move. Experience the Rollison difference. All right, David, you had 2 months back home working away, back on the road now. We did the race at MCC. You're back at it again here in a couple of weeks. The United States Pro Kart Series back at it at Newcastle Motorsports Park, June 26th to 28th with the Indiana Grand Prix.
Yeah, heading to Newcastle Motorsports Park for the first time for what will be many times over the next.
All three of the races, guys, here on the
I
EKN.
totally forgot about that just now looking at it. Yeah, so missed the opening weekend for USPKS. So excited to get back to that family and get back to one of the secondary homes for USPKS, Newcastle Motorsports Park.
Yeah, our next 3 EKN Trackside Live events, all at Newcastle Motorsports Park. It'll be 6 weeks from now. David and I will be together again at the Superkarts USA Pro Tour Summer Nationals, capping off the 17th edition of the SCUSA Pro Tour. That's July 24th to 26th. And the following week, it'll be the RMC Trophy Final at Newcastle, July 31st to August 2nd. David, final tickets up for grabs to go to the Rotax Grand Finals. But yeah, 3 straight events for us at Newcastle Motorsports Park.
Yeah, we'll get to wrap up the Pro Tour, get those championships awarded for the 17th season. That'll be an exciting weekend. And then, the tickets, 6 tickets in total that are going to be handed out the following weekend for the RMC Trophy Final. So micro, mini, junior, 2 and senior, and masters.
Fantastic weekend at the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati. My first opportunity to be at that racetrack. Really, really enjoyed it. Just the whole atmosphere there. I know that anything that Sean and Michelle Bailiff do is going to be top notch, and they did that. That track is just absolutely fantastic. David, final thoughts before we cap things off?
Newcastle.
Perfect. Today's show brought to you by Parallel USA. Folks, thank you so much for tuning into this edition of the EKN Debrief, wrapping up our coverage from the Superkarts USA Pro Tour Spring Nationals at the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati. On behalf of David Cole, my name's Rob Howden. Bye for now.